Good afternoon. Welcome back. It is Monday, July 3rd, 2023. We have a few birthdays, not a lot of cards, but we do have a few, and a few events, not very many, but we do have a couple that we'll go over here really quickly. We'll start in 1993. We're on this day in Daytona. Dale Earnhardt won his second of three, coincidentally, three points-paying races at Daytona in the Pepsi 400. Kind of an uneventful race. I vaguely remember watching this one. I was in high school. I was actually in summer break at the time, but I was working at Hardee's, and this was a Saturday race. And I can remember staying up all night the night before and running to a 24-hour store and getting a few things, trying to come back home and take a nap before I went to work, which didn't work too well. But I was kind of dozing in and out of this race. Don't remember a whole lot from it. But again, Dale, second of three career wins at Daytona in points-paying competition. We're going to jump real quick to 2022. Excuse me, 1 year ago today, Tyler Reddick won his first career Cup race at Road America. But we're going to hop back briefly to 1994. Mike Wallace won at Milwaukee in the Busch Series. Not really a significant win, just a little bit of a memory. Me and two of my friends were on our way to Charlotte on this day to go do the Richard Petty driving experience on July 5th of that year. So we listened to this race, most of it sitting on the exit ramp headed into Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, because they had a huge Dolly Parton concert at Dollywood that day, and the traffic was backed up all the way from Pigeon Forge to I-40, and from I-40 to Pigeon Forge, we listened to the entire Busch Series race from Milwaukee. So that was my memory from that, and it was a fun experience with my friends going down there and doing the Richard Petty driving experience a couple days later, of course. So now on to our cards. Where to start. I've got 5 birthdays, and believe it or not, I got 5 cards for each one of them. Let's start with 1937. Born on this date. He is a former Cup Series car owner and a Daytona 500 winning car owner, Mr. Bob Whitcomb. Now, Bob came into the sport in 1988. I'm trying to think what team that he purchased. It might have been Jim Testa's number 68, but that wouldn't be correct because Derek Cope ran that car the same year. And it wasn't Elmo Langley's. It may have been Elmo Langley's old team that he purchased. I think that's who Bob Whitcomb purchased the assets of, the old Elmo Langley team. Hired Ken Bouchard in 1989 to drive his cars, or 88 to drive his cars, I'm sorry. Ken had 1 top 10 and did win Rookie of the Year. The next year the team folded because of sponsorship issues, but Derek Cope, who was driving for Jim Testa at the time, brought Purelator over. They finished the 89 season, starting at Darlington in the spring, ran the rest of the season, and then 1990 won at Daytona and at Dover. So up next, I can't remember, I'm pretty sure this guy's in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. You guys will have to refresh my memory. Born on this day in 1942, and I know he passed away, and I can't remember what year, I didn't write it down. Mr. Larry Phillips. A lot of people may not know Mr. Phillips, but he was this regional NASCAR champion that just tore it up in the Midwest, mostly Missouri, in that area. But a lot of the Missouri drivers, Rusty Wallace, Kenny Wallace, Ken Schrader, all of them raced against Larry Phillips and said basically he was the man. You weren't going to beat Larry Phillips. Born on this day in 1953, former crew chief. He does have a good interview on the Scene Vault podcast. I recommend you go back and listen to that one. Mr. Cliff Champion. The only win that I can remember Cliff having as a crew chief, 1984 in Atlanta with Benny Parsons. Looks like he had one in 85, but I'm drawing a blank on that one. It would have had been a one-off, and I don't think it was with Greg Sachs. It might have been. I'll have to look that one up, but I do know his win in 84 was Benny's last win as a driver. Up next, and I'm just doing these in order of birth. Born in 1956 on this date, he's a dirt track star from New Jersey, but he's more famous for a crash he had at Talladega, Mr. Jimmy Horton. Won some big ARCA races, Daytona, Talladega, kind of became a super speedway master in the ARCA series. Then he went to Active Trucking Dean Meyer's team in 93, 92, and 93. Of course, this card's a 94, but Tinkle drove the car in 94 because Horton went and ran some ARCA races for Schrader and some other folks. And then he did participate in the 93 Brickyard test with this car, the Active Trucking Chevrolet. And that's the car that went over the wall at Talladega. Maybe not that particular car, but that car that he was driving for that team. And our final birthday born on this day in 2002. You've pretty much seen every card I've pulled of him. I just happen to have a Carolina Blue handy, local driver for us, but I haven't got to see him race in person yet. Mr. Zachary Tinkle. Of course, he's doing pretty good in the ARCA East series. Has a few top 10s. I believe he's top 5 in points. So hopefully, if I get to the ARCA race in Indianapolis next month, that maybe I'll get to see him run in person. So that is our birthdays and events for this Monday. So I hope you have a great rest of your Monday. Remember, tomorrow is the 4th of July. We will have our normal 3 videos up and running. So, not sure what we're going to rip yet, and not really sure whose birthdays it is yet. Haven't looked that far. I do this day to day. So anyway, thanks again for watching, and we will see you tomorrow.